Okay, today we'll start the remaining topic of the fourth module, that is IO interfacing there. Okay, the first concept what we are going to study today is the about electromechanical actuators and valves. One simple concept what we have here is we use the actuators to cause a mechanical effect with the help of a solenoid. Okay, you can see this in a figure there what we have here. One of the simplest form of an actuators used to cause a mechanical effects is a solenoid, which is as shown in the figure. What happens there? So what is an actuator means? So an actuator is a component of a machine that is responsible for moving and controlling a mechanism or a system. Example, opening a valve. In a simple way, we are using in our water tank automatic on and off of a motor there for controlling the flow of water. Okay, so that's the one thing what we are going to use it. So how we control that one? So when current flows, the coil acts as an electromagnet and draws the armature in against the spring. So what happens is that the current flows in this, and due to the electromagnetics, the armature starts moving front and backward there. So in a digital system, we can control the current in a small solenoid with the help of a transistor driven by a digital outputs as shown in the figure. You can just check it out here what we have. So this is a simple circuit diagram which drives the current with the help of a solenoid there. So here what happens is that a diode is required to observe the voltage spikes that arise when the current through the inductive load is turned off. So the diode captures the changes in the inductive load and acts according to that one there. So diode, with the help of diode, a current is passed through the transistors to activate the corresponding output driver there. So direct mechanical effect of activating a solenoid is a small linear movement of an armature there. So already you have seen in the figure there of a solenoid how this particular armature is acting to control the movement of a current which is flowing through the spring there. So that controls either the linear movement what we have it. So we can translate this into a variety of other effects by attaching the rods and a lever to the armature, allowing us to control the operation of mechanical system. So whatever that armature is there, if we connect that particular armature to any one of the rods or walls, that can be controlled with the help of this mechanical systems what we have it there. Okay, so like this we have so many different methods to control that. So digitally controlled solenoids are widely used in manufacturing and other industrial applications, because as we can just see the industrial concepts, they are dealing with the huge components or the bulky components. So for that purpose we use the digital control systems now. So there are two important class of devices based on solenoid. The first being solenoid valves, that is for the mechanical system. As I said, in a simple household example, we can take it in our own house. When we want to fill the water tank, we are using a automatic valve control system there, which checks the level of water inside a tank and automatically switch on and off the mechanical system of a liquid flow of a tank there. Okay, so we can attach the armature of a solenoid to a valve mechanism, allowing the solenoid to open and close the valve, thus regulating the flow of a fluid or a gas. Now, I have just taken a simple example of a household. Now, you can just see the concept how it is being used in industrial there. When it is dealing with a chemical factories or a gas, generally we have seen that so many chemical factories emitting the poisonous gas to the nature environment, and we have seen a global warming there. And we can control that how much the gas has to be sent to the environment, because that is the industrial standard parameter what the industry has to maintain it. And to control that flow of a gas or a flow of a liquid, that is done with the help of a mechanical system that is called as solenoid there. Okay, now in the same way such mechanism can operate with much greater force and power than electrical machine. That's why we are going to use the mechanical system. So solenoid valves are important component in interface between the disparate low power digital electronics domain and the high power mechanical domain there. Generally, when we are saying this particular concept, that is a solenoid valves are important component in interface between the disparate low power digital electronic domain and a high power mechanical domain. So when you see the example of a industry, as an industry is dealing with the huge size of a mechanical systems or a devices which has to be controlled, and for controlling that we are using a electronic powers there. So this solenoid acts like a mediator between these two systems to control on and off of a flow of liquid or a gas, etc. in the different industries. So this is one form of the system what it has been used it in with the help of mechanical system. So the second class what we have is a relay. So this relay, it comes to the electronics part or electrical part. In this device, the armature is attached to a set of electrical contacts. So what is this electrical contacts and how it is used? Generally, the relays are used as a switch, on and off switches. So it acts like on and off switches to control the operation of any of the household equipments if you want it there, or in a railway gate systems. There are so many different methods are there. So a relay is a solenoid where the mechanical actions operates electrical contact. So what happens there? In a relay, this mechanical movement is used to turn on and off of a switch contacts, while in solenoid, the mechanical movement is used for some other work like opening and closing a door, etc. there. So what happens here? Solenoid, it controls the flow of the liquid or a gas flowing inside a pipe or in any industrial waste, what you can just observe there. So that is controlled with the help of a solenoid. Whereas in our electronics or electrical systems, we used a relay to control the operations of on and off of electrical parameters there. So this allows us to open or close an electrical circuit under digital control system. So the reason for using a relay are twofold, either for on and off. The first electrical circuit can operate with the voltage and currents that exceeds those of the digital domain. For example, a home automation system might use a relay to activate main powers to a main powered appliance. Nowadays, best example in each and every household, we are using an inverter. When a power goes off, an inverter gets turned on. How it gets turned on there? When power supply is there, the inverter gets turned on, and in the house we are getting a power there without interruption there. So inverter plays. How it switches off? The switch is taken care with the help of the relay. So that's the one of the simple example what we can just take it out in a household automation system. And the second is a relay provides electrical isolation between the controlling and the controlled circuit. Now, in another one simple example, if you want to understand, we can use a concept called as a fuse there. What is that fuse? It controls the flow of huge current between the devices. So fuse, if it blows off, indicates that there was a huge current, so fuse got off and the switch gets turned off. A simple example, even in our household system power supply. If any short circuit happens inside a house, automatically the fuse gets off. And that fuse get off, how? Because of the relay. Because of that huge current flow, the relay gets turned off. And in order to pass out the current, again we have to go manually and we have to control the relay operation. That is a change the switch to a on mode there. So this is one of the example what we have it. That is the electrical parameter. So this can be useful if the control circuit operates with a different ground potential or is subject to a significant induced noise. So that is a in simple electrical concept when we are going to see, as we are saying, a huge current that acts like a simple destruction to a components. So that is controlled with the help of a relay there. So that is one of the important parameters of electromechanical actuators and was solenoid with the help of mechanical system and relays for the electrical system. So another concept what we have is about motors. When it comes to a motors, we already studied it till now in the 6 semesters, in different semester about two important motors in our labs, that is stepper motor and a DC motor. The same concepts have been explained it here also. So how that motor, how it operates or how it is controlled. And one of the best example motor which we have studied is a stepper motor. And even in the class we have just shown that it has consists of four coils, whereas we can just take it out, and here they named it as north pole and south pole, surrounded by a white coil, and a arrow mark indicates the flow of current inside that particular pole systems there. Okay, so what is that? Here is a stepper motor, is a simpler of the two kinds of motor that we can control with a digital system. Its operation is shown in simplified form in figure 4.12. What you can observe it here there. So what happens here is a stepper motor. The motion takes place with the help of a step by step. The movement of a motor there. And we already studied in the so many different labs. Each step of a stepper motor is equal to 1.8 degree. And we have calculated that also number of steps. So when it is one step is equal to 1.8 degree, there are 200 steps to complete one full rotations there. Okay. And here we can control the direction of the motor depending upon the magnets or depending upon the flow of current there. Okay. The motor consists of a permanent magnet rotor mounted on the shaft, as we can just check it out in the figure. What we have it here, the center one there. So surrounding the motor is a stator with a number of coils that can be energized to form electromagnetic poles. So whatever the current is passed to that particular coil or a magnet, it generates electromagnetic field around it and start moving the motor. Okay. So this figure shows that as the coils are energized in a sequence, the rotor is attracted to successive angular position, stepping around through one rotation. So what happens here? It's saying that it rotates in the sequence format. A sequence. Again, the best example of this stepper motor, if you want to understand here, is automatic railway gate control system. We are closing the gate of a railway track in the roads to avoid the vehicle movement on the track during a passing of a train there. How it is controlled? With the help of a stepper motor. A stepper motor is being placed, and to that rod is being placed, and it automatically comes down and close the gate, and it opens the gate with the help of the stepper motor concept there what we have. So the order and the rate in which the coils are energized determines the direction and speeds of the rotation there. So how much speed at what rate or what is the direction, everything it is being controlled with the help of the current flow, or the in which direction you want, we can control it with the help of mechanical systems, or with the help of software we can write the program and we can control them automatically there. So they also have a varying arrangements of coil connections, allowing finer control over stepping. So in practical applications, current through the coil is switched in either directions using transistors controlled by a digital circuit output. So how we do this? The fact that the motor is activated by the on and off switch of a current makes stepper motor ideal for digital control system. Either you can do it manually, as I said, or automatically. Automatically we can switch on with the help of the relay concept what we already studied just now. So we can sense the movement of a train, if I take an example, at certain distance, and then once the sensing signal is given, we can automatically close the gate and block the vehicle's movement there. So this is one of the concept what we can use it with the help of a stepper motor. Now we have another one concept or another motor which we are running, that is a DC motor, or we say it a servo motor. A servo motor, unlike a stepper motor, provides continuous rotation. So this is a continuous movement. It's not like a step by step and it can stop. Here it is a continuous rotation what it happens there. So what is it? The motor itself can be a simple DC motor in which the applied voltage determines the motor speed, and the polarity of the applied voltage determines the direction of the rotation. So if you see the concept already in the HDL lab, we have seen that concepts also there, how it was operated. We have controlled the DC motor speed with a different configuration of the select signal. So we have user has a control of over it, at what speed we can run the DC motor there. Okay, and what is the current, what it is being passed with the help of the a circuit what we have there. So this servo function of a motor involves use of feedback to control the position or speed of the motor. The another way what we can control with the help of the feedback there. So we just change the value of a system and controls the rotation of the DC motor. How can we check what is the speed of that one? There's one of the important concept is we use the tachometer. If I can just show you the simple figure of a tachometer, digital tachometer. There are so many analog systems also. So this is one of the example of a tachometer which checks the speed of the DC motor. The knob here we can observe should be placed here to check what is the speed of a DC motor. Okay. So in both cases, we can implement the servo controller as a digital circuit or using an embedded processor. As we have discussed in HDL, we have tried to control it with the help of a simple HDL language there. So here we need a digital to analog converter to generate the drive voltage for the motor. And whatever we are writing the software program, that has to be converted to the analog part, which we can just check it out in the HDL lab, what we have connected there. Whatever the program is written, it is being connected, and whatever the current generated by that particular system is being given to the DC motor. And what is the power required to run that particular motor? Inside it converts the digital parameter to the analog parameter, and the motor starts rotating there. So that's one simple example of another motor what we already studied. So we have studied right now about the solenoids and the relays to control the movement of a flow of a liquid or a gas. With there is a mechanical systems. The same thing which is being controlled in electrical is with the help of a relays. And then we have studied another two important concepts of a motor, that is stepper motor, rotating step by step, and another one is with the help DC motor, and how to measure the DC motor with the help of a tachometer. What we have it, and we have just shown the figure there. So these are some of the important concepts what we have it about the IO devices for display purpose there. Okay. Now, same way, we have another one important concept. In the initial concept, we have studied analog to digital converter. Now we have another reverse concept, that is digital to analog converter there. Okay. So what is this digital to analog converter? So digital to analog converters are the complement of analog to digital converter. There's a reverse operation of a DAC, that is a ADC. So a DAC takes a binary encoded number and generates a voltage proportional to that number. So here what happens is that whatever we are giving a binary coded value, that particular coded value is decoded and the respective voltage is being produced. Okay. So one of the simplest form of DAC is a R string DAC, as shown in the figure you can observe here. So this particular figure is called as R string DAC. So we have a reference voltage VF. We have different resistors connected as a voltage. There is a divider there, and it is respectively compared with the digital input. The reference voltage which is being divided there is being respectively compared with A0, A1, A2 with the respective complement values. One with a 0, another one with 1, as we can just see for each and every bit. And whichever the bit has been selected, and that particular code value is giving an analog output V out here with the help of a buffer what we have. We'll just check it out now. So what happens here? Like the flash ADC, it contains a voltage divider formed with the precision resistor, as I explained it right now here. So this binary encoded digital input is used to drive a multiplexer. These are the multiplexers what we have, the switch buttons formed from the analog switch, selecting the voltage corresponding to the encoded number. So whichever the encoded number is there, it selects that particular voltage and pass it out to the buffer there. Okay. So the selected voltage is buffered using a unity gain analog amplifier to drive the final output voltage. This is a simple unity gain. You can amplify it whichever the voltages we want depending upon the user requirement. So this form of DAC works well for a smaller number of inputs since it is possible to match the resistance to achieve a good linearity. But as it is complexity increases, this is not sufficient for us to use it. We go for the next version or the advanced version of it. However, for large number of input bits, we require an exponentially larger number of registers and switches. So this becomes impractical for a DAC and more than 8 to 10 input bits. So to avoid this, we are going for the next stage. What we have is R to R ladder DAC. Okay, so here R to R ladder DAC, what we have, this is a simple figure of a R to R ladder DAC, what you can just observe, which is being used as a summer. A summer circuit is being used to produce a respective analog output voltage, which is being compared with the reference voltage with the encoded input what we have. So an alternative scheme is based on summing of currents in a register network. Okay, so one way of doing this is shown in figure, this one, so called as R to R. Why it is called R to R is we can see the configuration. What we have is one is R, another one is 2R. So that's why it is being named as R to R ladder circuit DAC. So each of the switch connected to the input bits connects 2R registers to the reference voltage VF if the input is 1, or to the ground if the input is 0. If it is connected to ground, it is considered as 0. If it is connected to 1, it is considered as reference voltage there what we have. So it can be shown that current sourced into the input node of an op amp when the switches are in the one positions are binary weighted. So those switches in the 0 position source no current. So whichever is being connected to the ground, we consider it as there is no current flow in that particular circuit. Whichever the voltage divider components, a node which receives the position as 1, the current flows that, and that current flows is given to the amplifier summer, op amp summer, which we already studied it in linear IC, the integrated circuits, or in the basic electronics. We have studied the summer circuit, differentiator, integrator, so many different components of applications of an op amp there. So one of the op amp application what we are using here in R2R is that is summing. So the superposition of source current means that total current is proportional to the binary coded input parameter. So whatever the summing parameter is there, it acts like a binary coded input value, which is being converted to the analog signal with the help of operational amplifier. So the op amp voltage is thus also proportional to the binary coded input in order to maintain the virtual ground at the op amp input. So virtual ground which has to be maintained because summing, this is a configuration of a summing circuit what we have there. So there are numerous forms of digital to analog converters with various advantages and disadvantages. But here, depending upon the user requirement, we have to choose which DAC is suitable for the user there, or a customer, what we can just say, or whoever is designing, or the designer in a simple concept. So we would choose an appropriate converter to meet the cost, performance, and the other constraints that apply to each application. So this is the most important concept what we have there. So which DAC has to be selected? Which DAC has to be selected? It depends upon the user requirement. So user has to decide about the what parameters he prefer to select for particular application there. So these are some of the important concept of a R2R ladder DAC. Okay, so these are the concepts which I just wanted to explain it today. The remaining thing we can just check it out in the next session in the tomorrow's class. Okay.